Hi, I'm Mike Ignatowski, the creator of GreenFox, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to help people out with their tabletop baseball projects. Specifically, GreenFox can be used as an intelligent electronic baseball score sheet or scorebook that automatically computes the game stats, which can save you a lot of time and avoid manual mistakes. And best of all, it can be configured to manage a league and all of its components, which includes the teams, the divisions, the standings, the rosters, the schedule, the lineups, and most importantly, the stats and the leaders. GreenFox can track cumulative or season stats for all teams and players in the league, and it's free. In this video, I'm going to review and demonstrate what's new in the GreenFox Baseball Spreadsheet version 4.5. So here's the basic list. I wouldn't say there are any real killer features in version 4.5, but there are several, I'll say, significant updates. And hopefully all GreenFox users will find at least one of these that will be meaningful to incorporate into their baseball project. So I'm going to basically kind of go through a show and tell version of each of these and demonstrate it uh, on an actual spreadsheet. So let's get started. Okay, feature number one here is on the score sheet, the mouse over hover stats for pitchers per game option. So as many of you know, this feature has been around for a couple of versions for batters. And I'll first mention that it's controlled by a game option. So if I look at the score sheet setup, game options, I believe it's option number 21, which is show those player season stats as a mouse hover tip on in the score sheet batting lineup. But now I added and the pitcher list cells. Obviously, this is only for leagues, but pretty much everybody uses it for a league anyway. So once you have to have this option on for it to work. So now let's go over to the score sheet. And this score sheet is one that was a copy was sent to me by one of GreenFox users, Matt, who I really appreciate it. And this is a custom league you can see here, and it has more than 400 games that he's played in this league, so it's been great for some testing. So I loaded a game in here, and you can see here these are the hover stats for the batters, which were that was there before, but now we have it for the pitchers. So up here you say Michael Waka. These are the pitching hover stats. And as you know, when you change pitchers, it all goes on the same line. So it uses the same cell for the hover stat. And just like the batting, the stats that get shown here, these, I think, 12 stats here, are not configurable. So they're hard coded. So if you feel like it's missing something important, send me an email, and maybe the next version we can make some tweaks. But I think this is a good start. It shows the same whether they're a starter or a reliever. And that's why I chose what I chose. So that's feature number one. The next feature, number two, says attempt to detect if a user clicks the change pitcher cell in the incorrect score sheet location. And that's really just kind of an enhancement to an existing feature on the score sheet where it's trying to prevent you from putting your batter's plate appearance result in the wrong place on the score sheet. This again is controlled by a game option, which let's take a quick look at that, which is option number 20, where it says alert. You kind of alert the user when they're attempting to add a batter result to the incorrect score sheet cell, or at least it appears it's the incorrect one. So this is really just kind of adding on to what that option does. So before, if you clicked over here for batting, it would give you this message that says, this looks wrong. Do you want to continue? No. But if you clicked in the change pitcher cell, it would always let you do it. It didn't give you any message. So now that's what's new, is it adds that. So if I want to change pitchers, here, it'll say, no, that doesn't look good. But let's just change let's say Lindor gets up after this guy, after he hit the first two, hits a home run. And now you're going to say, oh, looks like Michael Wacha doesn't have it. I gotta take him out. So, if you clicked here, it would say no, but, or down here, same thing. Anyway, here's the right place. You're going to do it right here before Alvarez bats. So here, and I'm going to bring in Josh Hader as a reliever. And the other thing I want to show here is that it puts Josh Hader up here. It's showing that he's a lefty. But now, when I hover here, you'll see these are his stats, not Michael Wacha's stats. So even though they're all in the same cell here for this pitcher hover stats, it only shows it for the active pitcher. So anyway, I guess that's a little more add-on to Feature 1 and what Feature 2 is doing to try to help prevent you from adding a score sheet in the wrong place and therefore kind of messing up your score sheet. So those are the first two features. Okay, on to Feature 3, which is on the schedule. Open a web page to view the historical box score on baseballreference.com. This is for historical leagues only. So for this demonstration, I'm going to use a historical league. Actually, I'm going to go back to what I was using first, which was the custom league. This is on the schedule. So over here is where it shows up on the schedule, this view actual box score. But because this isn't a historical league, there's nothing filled in under this actual score or what was the score of the game. But if you click this box, it'll tell you, it says actual game box scores are only available for historical leagues, HLS and HTS. So, and to view a historical box score, click the actual score cell for the desired game, which is in this column. And the schedule must be locked. So this is just saying, obviously for this custom league, it doesn't work because there are no historical box scores for these games. Okay, so now I'm going to jump over to a different GreenFox spreadsheet, and this is my historical team season for the 1971 Detroit Tigers. So for this, I'm going to go to their schedule. Oops, I think I got the wrong spreadsheet there. So yeah, let's go to the schedule for the 71 Tigers. You can see here, I played a few games. I was mainly replaying these Mickey Lolich starts. But so here, because this is a historical team season, it shows the actual scores of the games. So now, if I want to see a box score of one of these games, let's just pick this one here. I'm going to pick one Detroit actually wins this game. This game here with Detroit 10, Oakland 2. So if I click on this, it'll ask me, hey, do you want to open your browser to this? And I'm going to say yes. Opened it over on a different window, but I'll bring it over here. So this is what happens. It brings it up to the baseball reference to this game, and you can see here's the box score. So I'm going to do it on one other one just so you can see it again. So if I pick this one, this Detroit 7, California 4, that happened whenever this was against the Angels. Here it is. Detroit won 7-4 against California on April 30th, 1971. So this could be really helpful if you're doing a historical or some kind of replay, and you may want to look and see this obviously GreenFox already has the lineups, but if you wanted to see who played or who pitched, or anything, details about the game, this is a convenient way to see that. And one other thing I'll mention about this feature is that let me scroll over here a little bit. So here is the actual date of a historical game. And I believe this it's looking for month, day, year. So I think this has to look like this for it to work. So this kind of a heads up. I had one of a different spreadsheet. When this was in a different format, it didn't work. So, and sometimes it can depend on your Excel format for how it's looking at dates. But for the most part, as long as you have it month, day, year like this, it'll work fine. So that is the historical box score feature. Okay, feature 4, standings, add home and road records. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go back to GreenFox user Matt's spreadsheet here and look at the standings for his league. You can see here each team's got about 50-some games. And these are how the standings looked before 4.5. Up here, there's this new button up here. It says Show High Home Road. And if you click that, it just simply adds these 2 extra columns for each team of their home record and road record. It doesn't give you their win percentage or any run differential for home and road, but you can easily see their home and road records. So that is that feature. Feature 5, I would say, is a pretty minor feature, if not very minor, but you can see here it says in the options, it expanded the enable pitch count option functionality. When disabled, it allows for lineup names with parentheses, like this. Yeah, so this is a game option. So let me go to the game option first. This is game option 13, which before it had slightly different verbiage, but it had to do with maybe showing or hiding the pitch count feature in the bad result form. But now I just kind of simplified it and made it enable or disable. And by default, it's disabled. And I think for the most part, most users will have no reason to turn it on, I guess I'd say. But if you do want to keep track of pitch count, then you turn it on. But the reason I made this modification was a user that had a custom league that had different players from different years, and they had named their players, their lineup name, something like this, where it had the year at the end when they maybe had multiple years in the league, which I thought shouldn't be a problem, but because that's kind of was getting confused with that, it was conflicting with the pitch count feature. So now if you have this disabled, you can use this, and I'll just show you quickly here on the score sheet. So you can see here right now it's off. So on the score sheet, Francisco Alvarez, when this pops up, here's the show pitch count thing, and it's disabled and it's turned off, and you can't do it. The pitch count is actually over here, but you can't see it when it's disabled now. So I'm going to cancel this. If I go back to this option and turn it on, so I'll turn it on and then update my game options, and then click this again, you'll see now it's disabled, but it's turned on now, and you can put in this pitch count. So if you did, the problem was it would put the pitch count in this home play, but it also would write it up here under Josh Hader's. Just for example, let's say Josh Hader strikes out Francisco Alvarez on 3 straight pitches. So say okay. So you can see here it strikes out. He's out at home. It puts a little 3 there, and up here for Josh Hader, it puts this 3. And I'm going to ignore these injury colors for this demonstration. Let's say that Brandon Nimmo lines out to first on the first pitch, and that's the end of the inning. So you can see here now it just says line out 3, 1 pitch, and it adds that pitch. So now it says Josh Hader threw 4 pitches. So that's the pitch count feature, but I think hardly anybody uses it, and that's okay. But that's why it conflicts with if you have a player named, like that example I gave with this Mark Fidrych parentheses 76, you can see why the program gets confused because it looks kind of like this pitch count. So anyway, so I'm going to turn this feature back off like that. And by doing that, that just kind of safeguards your GreenFox league so that if it has a player name with a parentheses in it, that it doesn't break anything else. So that is feature number 5. All right, let's keep going on to the next features. Look at my latest version feature list page. We're up to 6 and 7. I'm going to show both of these kind of together. 6 is the total bases and singles on the GpBs sheet, and then 7 is the leaders, the single game leader section for batters and pitchers. So let's continue using the same custom league spreadsheet. I'm going to go to the stats, the batter game log, which is the GpBs sheet. And what's new are these last 2 columns where it's got singles and total bases, and these little boxes up here reflect that. These are formula based, so it doesn't record them on the box score on the score sheet, but it computes them here. So, and typically this isn't going to make much difference, but it uses it when it gets to the leaders. And I think these leaders have already been computed, so I'm going to use this and jump to the leaders of, again, using Matt's spreadsheet here. So I'm just going to collapse all these first. So you can see here are the batting leaders, the pitching leaders, and these are both based on totals for the most part. And then here's the new single game batting leaders. There's just a few categories for each of these, but I'll expand these now. And then I'll use this new link to jump down to the single game leaders. So here are the single game leaders, and what it does is, just like it says, like this would be runs in a single game. So Ronald Acuna had 6 runs in a game, and this little red triangle again means a hover note. So if I hover on this, it'll tell me with that little note that this happened in game 254 with the Braves at the Chicago Cubs. So if you want to know when this happened, or go look at this game or whatever you want, this is how it does tell you when it happened. If you want to know when Kyle Tucker hit 3 home runs in a game, it was in game 63 when the Blue Jays were at Houston. So again, that's the batting leaders. They're not as, there aren't as many categories that are really significant, but there are some, like the hits, the RBI, some of these total bases. With singles, once you get more than 10 people with the same number, it doesn't show any. So it just says a lot of people got 4 singles in a game, but nobody's gotten 5. And this is kind of cool. These 3 guys stole 4 bases in a game, and unfortunately, the Tigers are good at striking out in a game, which they have 3 of the top 6 players. And then if you go down here to the pitching, these first 2, I guess you'd say, are the good columns, where strikeouts in a game. You can see when Kevin Gausman struck out 19 against the Tigers. Well, that's not surprising. In game number 1. Wow. And this next column is complete game with the least hits. So you can see they've had several 2-hitters, or Matt's had several 2-hitters in this league, and been several others tied with a 3-hitter, but so he hasn't had any 1-hitters yet. There's nothing in these, and these bottom 4 for the pitchers are kind of, I guess, maybe notorious, or these are more like, these are allowed. So this is the most hits allowed in a game, or the most walks allowed in a game. Matt Manning for the Tigers gave up 5 home runs in a game, along with a couple other people. and the most earned runs allowed in a game. This might be grounds for, I don't know if it's mismanagement, but maybe these were mop-up guys that didn't mop up very well. But anyway, so those are the single game leaders. They're, I guess, can be kind of neat to look at. We're looking for kind of special performances by a player, and you can see what game it happened in. So that is feature numbers 6 and 7. On to feature 8, which says on the league sheet, configuration logic handles the historical Federal League from 1914 to 1915. So the Federal League, as it says, was back in the, just lasted for 2 years, but is considered another major league baseball league. And I never heard of this league until when I was making this spreadsheet in its early days, and a user asked about it. So I finally got around to putting it in. It is on Baseball Reference, so that's helpful. So I'm going to use a new spreadsheet to demonstrate this. So let's go to a league setup sheet. And again, the Federal League is a historical league, so I'm going to pick a historical league season. When I do that, it says enter the year. I'm on the league sheet. Now, before I do this, when you use to create a historical league, you need to have the proper kind of retro sheet, kind of helper GreenFox spreadsheet. And I have that over here, which is this. This is the GF4. In the future, this may change to 5 if it needs to, but the point is, it'll be GF something, some number, and this is retro 1901s and 10s XLXX spreadsheet. So what that means is this has all the historical schedules and lineups and teams for anything from 1901 through 1919. So I have this open. I'm going to put it in the background so that it'll work. And you can see down here at the bottom of this sheet, it has these two FL 1915 and FL 1914. Those two tabs contain the Federal League data. So it works just like the other historical leagues. So I'll just, when I say I want a historical league season, and then it prompted me for what year, if I say 1915, when I do that, I get this prompt that says for 1914 and 15, you must choose between MLB, the American and National League, and the Federal League. So please enter the letter code of your choice, an M or an F. And you have to pick one of those. So if I want to choose one of those, do it with the Federal League, I put in an F here. You can see then it loads these Federal League teams. There were 8 teams. And then it tells me to click the purple button to load all the data. I'm not going to finish this process here, but this is how it works. And similarly, if you wanted to do a custom league and use one of these teams, you could do that using the other retro sheet helper file. So anyway, I just want to mention that this version can gracefully handle those 19 and 14 Federal League historical seasons. I'm not sure what games publish data or cards for these Federal League, but I'm guessing somebody does, because somebody asked me about these. So anyway, that's the Federal League feature in GreenFox 4.5. On to feature 9, which is on the league sheet. Roster population using miscellaneous GreenFox roster data files, custom league only. That's probably kind of confusing, but what this means is this: that, as you know, in a custom league, you can use historic teams and load those rosters conveniently using the retro roster GreenFox data file. But what this is about is, this is the first time that I'm going to allow or have GreenFox be able to read other rosters that have been put together or created for GreenFox that aren't MLB historical rosters. And the first one I'm doing is from Play Games. The creator of Play Games, people know Keith. He was very kind and sent me the electronic rosters for his History Maker Baseball America 2026 teams. I had a couple people ask me about that. And before, you could always create a GreenFox league using those teams and rosters and players, but you had to enter them in manually. So Keith was kind enough again to send me the electronic version of that roster, which could make this much easier. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to use a different spreadsheet. You can see here, and I'm going to go to my league setup. You can see I have, and here I'm making a custom league. You can see here, and I just said I'm going to use 4 teams, and these are 4 teams from the History Maker Baseball America, I guess, universe, if you want to call it that. So I just picked 4 teams. But if in the course of setting up this custom league, now I want to fill in the roster. So if I go to validate settings here, and it says, oh, now you need your rosters. Okay. And it tells me how I can get them. And basically I need to, I guess, modify where it says B here for historical players. You may choose. Oh, I don't mean that. For the historical teams, you can use the load historical team roster, this green button in the upper left, this up here. But what I did was added this second button, this kind of ocean blue button here. It says load miscellaneous team roster, and that's what I'm going to use. And what I did was created another roster spreadsheet. And let me see here. This one, these rosters will start with a GF _ Misc _ rosters, and then the rest of it is kind of custom based on what's in it. So this one is HMBBA, which stands for History Maker Baseball America. And I mentioned here that this data was graciously provided by Play Games, which is one of the nicest guys in this industry, Keith. So, and just to kind of show how this works in this year team form, just because of how it works in the major leagues, I kind of kept the same format. So you have a year, and then for each year you have a league, and I just call it BA for Baseball America, and these are the team IDs, and these are the team names. They don't have any divisions in there. And you can see there are 12 teams plus one. I made a 13th team of free agents, because that's how he publishes the players in this universe, if you want to call it that. And then on the roster sheet, here are all the rosters. Oh, and it includes what they bat, what they throw, whether they're a hitter or pitcher, and their primary position, and things like that. So those are the basics that you need to create a roster using historical data. This says historical. It really isn't. I guess you can call it historical in a different way. It's just not Major League Baseball historical. This is Play Games Baseball America historical. So anyway, so this will be available on the Facebook group file section. And so just like the other one, you'll download it and just open it, but leave it in the background. So now that it's in the background, I'm going to unlock my roster here. Now it's unlocked. And now I'm going to click this blue button. And you can see here, it pops this up, and this title up here changed. You can see here it says Roster Chooser, History Maker Baseball America. So that's what it found when it was looking for those miscellaneous roster files. That's what it found. And it only lists 1 year. So if I want to do this and say I want to load the roster for my Milwaukee Barrelmen. I click them. And for whatever reason, I notice with only 1 year, if I click below it first, it gives that little box around it. And then if I click the year, it seems to work. If I don't click below it first, sometimes if I just click the year, it doesn't list the teams. I'm still trying to figure that out, but in general, it works. So here's my 2026 Baseball America season, and here are all the teams, and I'm going to pick the Milwaukee Barrelmen and say, yeah, that's who I want to use for my custom league Milwaukee Barrelmen. And I'll say load. And it'll prompt me. I say yes. And just like loading the 72 Reds or whatever else you're doing in a historical league, it works the same way. So that's how it works. And it'll function the same way as other historical leagues, only this is special using a miscellaneous one. And this first one is the Baseball America rosters. So that is that new feature number 9. Just a couple more notes related to this feature. Excuse me. And maybe even this feature in general is that I'm hoping that next spring, if the baseball universe or if the Baseball America universe continues, that there'll be a 2027 league roster that I'll be able to incorporate that into the same spreadsheet. Let me just look at that spreadsheet again, but into this same spreadsheet here. So I would just add another year here and then add the teams and the rosters. I know there are some years, Baseball America seasons prior to 2026, but I don't have any of those. And when I first contacted Keith, he didn't have that readily available in the format that I could use. But if somebody would like to provide that to me, I don't have a problem adding it into this spreadsheet so that other people could use it. But anyway, so I'm hoping this specific miscellaneous roster GreenFox data file that I'll be able to just keep adding to it to include more of these Baseball America seasons in addition to the current 2026. And in a related story, I'd say I'm hoping to add other miscellaneous rosters, like possibly some Negro League teams. I don't know about whole seasons, how that works, what data is all available for the completeness of those rosters and such. But I'd like to get some of those included. And also maybe it may, I don't want to say blossom into, but it may end up evolving into something that users could contribute some rosters that they wanted to be. Maybe somebody could come up with some all-time teams or all-time rosters for different teams that then they could share, and other people could import those rosters if they wanted to, as opposed to recreating them themselves. So anyway, that's just a little bit of kind of vision, I guess, I see related to these non-major league historical rosters, or really just other rosters that you could use with GreenFox to help conveniently set up your league. That would be from, I guess, other sources. So I'm hoping that will continue to grow and offer more options for people to create custom leagues using those. All right, we're at the end of the list. Feature number 10, the welcome or splash screen, expanded functionality, more YouTube video links. Well, so maybe that's kind of self-explanatory, but I'll just show you. This is the new and improved welcome screen, or you may think of it as a splash screen, or the first thing you see when you open a new or download a new version of GreenFox for the first time is this should window should pop up. So what's new is, it has more pastel colors. And what's, I guess, really new, there's these 3 new video buttons that launch the browser to certain YouTube videos. And obviously, you need to be online for this to work. But this purple one here, watch how to upgrade video. So I made it recently. I had made and published a new video of how to upgrade your GreenFox spreadsheet. So this would go to that. The green button and the blue button, they were there before, but these other 2 are new. This will jump you to the video playlist for GreenFox on YouTube, so you can look at all the different videos, and if you want to watch any of them. And this orange button will launch basically the one you're watching. Well, not one you're watching now, but one like it, which is whatever the current version of GreenFox is, the newest version. There's always a video that I published that describes the new features in that, and that's what this one would point to. So, like in this example, this would open your browser to the what's new in version 4.5, since this is version 4.5. So the yellow one was there before, and this gray one at the bottom was there before. So these 3 new buttons that will launch your browser to the YouTube and go to the right video, that's what's new in this updated welcome screen. So that's the end of the new features in version 4.5. Well, that completes the list of what's new in GreenFox version 4.5. Again, I don't think anything here is world-changing or earth-shattering, but hey, maybe somebody might think so, and that's okay. But hopefully all GreenFox users might be able to find something in here that they will make their baseball project with GreenFox a little more fun or just a little richer. So thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this GreenFox video. I hope you found it helpful. And remember, when life throws you a curveball, don't bail out.